What's going on, everybody? Back at you with another video here. Today we're going to be doing a taper or a blowout with a number 2 on top and a number 1 on the sides. Been getting a lot of requests of this haircut. Alright, so we're going to start out with my Andis MVP and a purple magnetic Andis guard. We're going to start with the number 2 on top. I'm going to brush the hair out real good. And we're going to get a number 1 magnetic guard with my Andis Masters. And we're going to start the number 1 and start our first guideline. So I make the guideline all the way around with the lever closed all the way. And then I'll open the lever up and start blending into the 2. And as I blend into that 2, I close that notch by notch as I get closer down to the 1 and blend it in. That's one thing that I really like about the Masters. They're my favorite clipper, but especially for beginners, with those notches, it makes it really easy to not lose yourself. You just literally have to follow it just notch by notch. Try not to really dig too much. Just let the clippers do the work. No reason to really push too hard. Just kind of let the clippers glide. So now I'm taking my T-outliner and I'm making my first guideline. I'm balding them out. He wants a skin taper or skin blowout. I do the same thing all the way around. So I do both sides in the back. Create my guidelines. And as I'm getting close to where I want to start the first guideline, I kind of flick my wrist. I like starting out my tapers like this, and I'm not really digging too hard when I do that first tap. I just kind of tap it just to see where I want to start it out at. And then after that, I flip the clipper over and clean up all the hair underneath. Then you're going to take your Masters with the lever all the way open. And this is where I usually use only the corner. The corner of the teeth of the Masters, and I start creating my next guideline up, and I start closing that lever notch by notch. And as I close it, I just go up less and less, and I use the corner of my blades and blend it right in. And then here I'm using a magnetic Andis zero guard, and same concept. Start with the lever all the way open, and I blend it right into the 1 and start closing that lever notch by notch. Here I'm just kind of cross-checking, always using the corner of my blades. That's to not really make a hard line again, just really touching it up. Just following the same process here in the back. Never be afraid to raise it up too high, specifically when you have the Masters open like that. With the half. The half is your friend. If you don't raise it up enough, then you don't give yourself enough space to really have a clean transition. Just close the lever step by step, and as I start closing it, I start using the corner of the blade more and more. Now I have the zero guard, magnetic purple Andis guard. Same thing, lever open, and as I go up towards the occipital bone, I'm flipping my wrist out, almost in a C fashion, back towards me, as to not dig into the haircut. And as I go less, as I take it up less and less, I start closing that notch until I have it closed all the way. quick plug too, guys. Me and Chris Bosio have a podcast that we do. It's called The Barber Session. We record every Wednesday night. The podcast comes out on Thursdays. Got some big names coming up. We've had some big names on there already. So check it out, guys. You can find it on SoundCloud, Stitcher, Tune45.com, and it's also on iTunes in the podcast section. Some really good content, really good information on there for you. By barbers, for barbers. And here we're just following the same process. I'm going to take the Andis Master with the lever all the way open, so the half. And I like to make, I didn't mention that on this side, but I like to make like a circular guideline when I'm doing my tapers. And I leave the front of it a little darker. That way it has more definition, just looks a little bit cleaner in my opinion. So you can get a nice edge on it. Following the same process, just closing it notch by notch, using the corner of my blades. Here I'm just using the T outliner just to clean it up a little bit. Never be afraid to go back. Always brushing. I know some of the fellas gave me a hard time last time because I said brush a whole bunch of times in my first video, but I can't stress enough, guys, how important it is to brush. Should always have a comb or a brush in your hand as a barber. Right here I'm using a little bit of spritz. This particular client, his hairline tends to like run away from me no matter how much I brush it down. So I use a little bit of spritz, brush it down, let it dry, and it helps the edge stay in place, the hair stay in place, so I can get a nice clean edge on it. And I'm also going to do a little bit of color enhancement on him. As you can see, his hairline is receding a little bit. Here I'm using the color enhancement. I apply it, and what you want to do is you want to press it down on the edge and then press up towards the hair. You never want to go towards the forehead. And then you take a brush and you brush it back into the hair to blend it in. So again, we're just pressing down and then moving back towards the center of the head. And then we'll use a brush to brush it in. And then come back with the Andis T outliner and clean it up. As you can see the difference there. Applying and then pushing back. Once it's brushed in and blended in, then you can brush down. This usually lasts him about 2 to 3 days, depending on how hard he scrubs in the area when he shampoos his hair. Right here I use a clear shave gel to prevent any razor burns, razor bumps, and so that I can also see where I'm shaving. Always reference with the mirror. Here I'm using my Andis shaver. Just kind of flicking when I get towards the top as to not create a hard line again. give it that nice clean bald look towards the bottom. Cleaning up my client's neck. And we're going to use a little bit of clear shave gel, and we're going to clean up his eyebrows as well. This client likes to get his eyebrows cleaned. You don't really want to make them too skinny. So really you're just kind of defining what they already have, or what he already has. You want to make sure you stretch the skin real good, especially when you're at the bottom there. You just use the corner of your blade. And just take your time with it, and just let the blade do the work. No need to push down too hard. It's a very sensitive area. Last thing you want to do is cut your client on his eyebrow. And that's the final product, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I appreciate your time. And once again, subscribe, share, like this video if you want to see more. And check out the Barber Session podcast. It's on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and it's also on tune45.com.